entry training video. So I am Mary Summers. I am the Regional Preparedness Manager here for the Kentucky Region American Red Cross, and I oversee the HomeFireCampaign as well as the other preparedness initiatives throughout the region. What we're going to be doing today is walking through the Service Acknowledgement Forms and how to enter them into the national online portal. I'm hoping by the end of this video, you'll not only be able to do it on your own and feel comfortable with the data entry process, but also have a deeper understanding of what these service acknowledgement forms are, why they are important, and why we ask the information we ask. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is show you the service acknowledgement forms. Here is one of them. This is the typical everyday service acknowledgement form. You can tell that it is blue. Of course, if you print it in black and white or you make a copy, you may not have the colors, but the coloring of the form is one way that we can distinguish what type of form we have. So the service acknowledgement form is used when we go and do an in-home safety visit with residents in the community. And we may provide services such as new smoke alarms, the 10-year alarms, bed shakers that are the deaf and hard of hearing alarms, or replace batteries. Another service that we provide is the education. There are homes that are not in need of new smoke alarms or additional smoke alarms, but we can educate the community and really increase their ability to respond to those smoke alarms and get out of their homes safely in case of an emergency. So we create a fire escape plan with them. We have a fire safety checklist that we can review. And then there's also the option to learn about a local hazard, such as flooding, thunderstorms, winter storms, things like that. So this is our regular everyday service acknowledgement form. We also have a partner direct service acknowledgement form. And as you can tell, it already looks a little bit different because it is purple. But besides that, the information remains the same. But this is used for our fire departments, our faith-based organizations, and other community partners in which they may be completely trained to provide an in-home fire safety visit to the residents using our service acknowledgement forms as documentation, using our escape plan and checklist for the education, and of course using Red Cross provided smoke alarms, deaf and hard of hearing alarms, or batteries. So that's the difference between the two forms. So we are going to be looking at today how to enter those into the online portal. The Service Acknowledgement Form Data Entry Instructions document is provided by National. It can be found on the Exchange. It is also on the Kentucky Region SharePoint. And worst comes to worst, you can always shoot me an email or give me a call, and I'm happy to send it to you personally via email. So this form walks through the completed service acknowledgement forms and the information we're looking for. The first thing I'd like to point out is, as you can see, all of the fields have been completed. So we have full information for address, we have full information for the services provided, we have the resident's name, we have a Red Cross name, signatures, the dates, and a complete initial assessment. We'll talk more a little bit about the initial assessment as we work through one of the documents online. But then we also have full information for partners reporting and information for future follow-up. The only piece that should not be completed before the data entry process is down here in the administrative section in the red. That's what you will complete after you finish entering the form into the online portal. So this document, again, the Sound the Alarm Service Acknowledgement Form Data Entry Instructions, again, is provided by National and can be found on the Exchange. And it helps walk you through step by step how to enter the forms online into the reporting portal. A second document that has been created here in the Kentucky region for your use is the Service Acknowledgement Form Data Entry Frequently Asked Question Sheet. So these have come from questions over the past few years about how data entry or how to record some of the partners, or what to do if it says things like the address is not verified. And we're going to walk through some of that as well when we get to the online portion. So both of these documents are available for your use, and I hope can help guide you along with this video in how to do the data entry process. I'm going to flip back to video here. So what we're going to be doing today is I actually have some partner direct service acknowledgement forms, and I'm going to walk you through how to do one online using the reporting portal. So choose your favorite internet browser, and the website that we use, again, this can be found on the frequently asked question as well as the data entry instruction documents. The website that we use is HomeFireCampaign.org. Once the browser comes up, you have two options. You can contact your Red Cross or you can report progress. What we want to do is report our progress. Now, typically, if you're a first-time user on this or you don't use it very often, you will have to enter a username and a password. These are generic usernames and passwords that are provided by National. You can find them again on those documents. The username is volunteer, and the password is HomeFire. Please note that that's a capital H, and the second character is the number 0. It is not a capital O. So that is your username and password. No matter where you are or which type of form you are entering, this will be the username and password that you can use. So you may want to save that into your password history if you can. Once you enter that username and password, you come to this web page. And basically, this web page will mimic the form, the paper copy of the form that you have. So starting at the very top, we want to know what service acknowledgement form type we have. Mine here up at the top says Partner Direct Service Acknowledgement Form. So you can select that and you'll see that you get a little white bubble that fills in to indicate that it has been selected. The next section is the home address. You want to type this in exactly as it is on the form. So 301 KY 57 is the address that is written on the form. There is a section for an apartment or mobile home number. So if this is an apartment complex where there are multiple units, or if it is a mobile home area where there are multiple lots in the same street address, we want to make sure that we indicate what that unit number is. You may also have distinguishing units such as A or B if it's a duplex. And that's something else that we want to make sure we document to ensure that we are showing that we are going to different residences at the same street address and not just the same home over and over again. For the form that I'm entering for an example today, there is not an apartment or mobile home number. It is a single family home. So I want to type in NA. Then you enter the city. The forms that I have today are out there in Eastern Kentucky in Vanceburg. And you want to type in the zip code. And you'll see, I hope that you were able to watch it, that the county down here automatically populated based on the zip code that I provided. So the next piece that we want to do is this check address button. We want to make sure that we verify our addresses. We want to make sure we're using proper street addresses and that they are as accurate as we can get. So we want to verify as many addresses as we can as we do data entry. And to do that, we simply click Check Address. And it comes up down here. You can see that it says it's a valid address, and it gives a recommended format. So it's changed it just a little bit. It capitalized my KY and put a dash in between KY and 57. So nothing drastic has changed. That appears to be the same address that I'm referring choose. And my street name's been confirmed, I get that green check. I want to pause for just a second and talk about what to do if you don't get that recommended format and you're not able to select a green check mark. There are times when you're typing in the address and it will come back and say that it is invalid. The first thing to do is click your check address button a second time. Sometimes just giving the system another moment to register what you've typed in can help it bring up that correct address and give you an option to choose. Sometimes clicking it the second time does not help and it still says that it is invalid. I would recommend checking in your street address if you happen to have a road, a lane, an avenue, a boulevard, etc., that you try some different formats of, if you have road, maybe shorten it to the abbreviation of RD. Or if you have lane, give it a whirl and see if changing it to road actually helps. Ultimately, if you have given it the good old try and have attempted a couple times and it's still not coming through as verified, there are quite a few areas, especially in the rural areas of Kentucky, where the street names may not get verified. It will say invalid address in red down here, but if you've given it a try, go back to the original one that's on the form and just continue on. These will still submit and upload into the portal, even if this green check is not there, but we do need to try to verify as many as we can. And some of those questions and those tips that I just went over, they are in the frequently asked question document. So hopefully that will be able to guide you if you come up on this on your own. So as we scroll down, the next section that we have are services provided. The services can be one or both of either smoke alarms of some sort being installed or education being done. So we provide 10-year smoke alarms here in the Kentucky region, and we also have the option for bed shaker alarms for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. In addition, we also have batteries that can be replaced in 9-volt alarms if they are pre-existing in the homes, but we do encourage all of our trained installers to have the residents consider converting to the 10-year alarms where they don't have to worry about those 9-volt batteries. So following what you have on the form, and I'm going to flip over to video real quick and show you what's on my form. So in services provided, you want to follow exactly what's on the form in these 3 boxes. So number of smoke alarms, number of deaf and hard of hearing, and number of batteries. Once we do that, we'll be doing exactly what is shown on the other side, which is our education provided. And we'll talk through that as well. So let's go back to our form. So number of new smoke alarms installed and tested, we had 2. There were 0 deaf and hard of hearing alarms and 0 batteries replaced. For the education, they created a fire escape plan. That's excellent. They reviewed the home fire safety checklist, and they also learned about a local hazard. Now, the local hazard that's written here says it practiced the fire escape plan. So while that is a hazard that we want them to do, it's also already covered up here, and did they create a fire escape plan? So what I'm going to do is from this drop down, I'm going to choose none. As you can see on the drop down, there are the options where your Red Cross Disaster Program Manager may have provided you as an installer or the team as the installer that went out with information about earthquakes, flooding, hurricanes, not so likely in Kentucky, tornadoes, winter weather, wildfires, or other. So if there's something indicated there that doesn't fit into earthquake, flooding, hurricanes, tornado, winter weather, wildfires, you can choose other. And if there's nothing there, or if it is a recap of the fire escape plan or home fire safety checklist, you can choose none. So we've done our services provided, and now we want to know who provided those services. So this is the Red Cross or partner side of the form. So I'm actually going to cover up our resident's name. So this is our Red Crosser, or our partner, Mr. George Sparks. He is a great partner and part of the Lewis County Emergency Management Team. So we type in George's name, and we want to know the date when this was completed. So when did George go to the home and provide these services? So that's the right-hand side of the form there in the middle. And again, we have asterisks by all of the required pieces of information. And if you miss any of that, when you go to submit, it's going to kick it back so you can go through and correct and add any missing information. Okay, our initial assessment. So this is the next section of the form. And first, I'm going to enter it as it's on the form, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what this means and why we have this information. So how many people live there? There are 5. There are 2 indicated to be 17 and under, so 2 youth. There is no one indicated to be 65 or older. No one with a disability or access or functional need. No veterans, military members, or military family members. And then it asks about how many pre-existing smoke alarms does the home have. So this home had 1 smoke alarm, which is great, but unfortunately when it was tested, it was not working. So 1 smoke alarm in the home, but it was not working, so they installed some new ones. So why do we ask this information, and what does it mean if there's no numbers in these fields? So the initial assessment provides us with a couple different pieces. Of course, we are going only to inhabited residences, so we have to go where there are people living there. We are not able to install, per our guidelines, in empty or vacant homes, or in warehouses or barns or things like that. So we want to make sure that we are installing them where there are people living there, because we want them to be protected. And then we ask some questions about the demographics of those homes, the youth, the adult over 65, anyone with a disability, or our military and veterans. And we ask that because we want to make sure that we're not just reaching anyone and everyone, which we want to do, but we also want to make sure that we are serving our vulnerable populations. And this is a way to track to make sure that we are reaching those vulnerable populations. And then at the end, with the pre-existing smoke alarms and how many are tested and working, one of the greatest threats that we see in homes are houses that either have no working smoke alarms, or houses that have smoke alarms that they think might be working, but would indeed not actually provide any protection in the case of an emergency, because maybe they haven't been tested, or they don't have working batteries, or they're over 10 years old. So we want to make sure that we're also documenting that to show that we are making this impact in communities where they are most vulnerable. And if you have any other questions or want to talk more about why these demographics and why we choose to document this information, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk about it more and guide you to some additional resources that can help explain why we do what we do. If on your form these areas are left blank, say for example all of these were left blank, what we want to do is first try to follow up with the installer or the disaster program manager, the DPM in your area, can help you maybe reach back out to them. The one that is most important, and as you can see, has our little red star, that's the most important, is making sure that this is that the home, the address that we've input, is indeed inhabited by people. So if the rest of them are blank, it is recommended to first try to find that additional information, but make sure this first one is there, and then if they are blank, we assume that that means 0. So if it said 5 and all of these were blank. If I could not get the information for whatever reason from either our disaster program manager or from the installer or the partner who did this, then I would want to just indicate all of these as 0 because we don't want to overestimate. Unfortunately, we have to kind of err on the side of caution and have an underestimation. Okay, so the next field area is our partner reporting. The first one is national partners. So there's quite a few different options, and these are partners that across the nation have agreed to and have an understanding with the Red Cross that they can help when there is a need for smoke alarm installations, or if there is an event and we are needing some more volunteers for a big event. So for instance, Hope Worldwide, they helped out during the 2018 Sound the Alarm signature event. So we did have a national partner during that. Typically for everyday installs and appointment-based installs, we don't have a national partner, but it is a required field, so you want to press none. Okay, then we have our local partners. Our local partners are the ones that they may be helping us recruit the referrals, they may be helping us volunteer, but they're not a partner direct, or in this case, because this is a partner direct form, it's who is the partner. And this is our Lewis County Emergency Management. So we can type that in so we know who it is. And then we have options down here to select what type of partner this is. So law enforcement or emergency management, that one's pretty easy to know. Fire departments are also on there. We have nonprofit or community organizations, faith-based organizations, for-profit, local or state governments, tribal, and then we also have service to the armed forces, which is our SAF, and we also have military or veterans organizations up there. The two I want to spend a couple minutes on here are state or national service volunteer and RCC. So for those of you that may have AmeriCorps members in your chapters, while this says AmeriCorps here, that is for the state or national. And what we actually have, the branch of AmeriCorps that we have serving with us here in Kentucky, is RCC, and that stands for Red Cross Corps. So if your AmeriCorps member has helped or was part of the install team and is documented on the form, up here you would want to type in, just as it says, RCC, and then you want to select this section, the RCC here. So just keep that in mind as you go on. But for this one, we have the Lewis County Emergency Management, so we can select that one. If there were no partners, if it was just volunteers that have gotten together to go out and do this, and none of them are associated with an outside organization other than the Red Cross, you would select none. So again, please note that this is required, and it will kick it back to you if you do not select at least one of these options. So if there are no partners, please select none. All right, so the next little section, it says region designated reporting fields. Typically, the optional 1 and the optional 2 will not be filled out unless your Red Cross Corps member was associated with the in-home visit. Then they should be entering their NSP ID. So that is their National Service Program Identification Number. They should be writing it on the form here, and we want to enter that so we can help make sure that they're getting credit for the great work that they're helping us with. Other than that, and unless it is otherwise directed during an event, the optional 1 and the optional 2 would be left blank, and they're not required, so you don't have to enter anything. The information for future follow-up. This is a required section, so you have to do one of two things. If there is no contact information, you select this, and it would give you the little check box for the client decline to provide contact information. Or there is an area where you can enter 1, 2, or 3 different types of contact information. One is sufficient, the more the better, and I'll explain why in just a moment. But I'm going to go ahead and enter our phone number for our client. This is not used for any type of soliciting. It is not used for any type of calling to ask if you can come in and volunteer. What this is for is in the case of anything happening with maybe the smoke alarms, or if we need to do some follow-up, maybe that address doesn't turn out correctly and you want to call the resident and ask them to verify their address, you can do that. But also, we like to try to follow up with the residents if, unfortunately, they, in the future, have an emergency and have a home fire. So through our portal with our response teams, we can match an address where we've responded to a house fire with an address that you are entering here online to show that our services, whether it's the smoke alarms installed or the education provided, help to get that resident out of the home safely. So we want to be able to reach back out to them, and it's really hard to, especially if they have lost their house in a fire, if we don't have some sort of contact information. So this helps us just be able to reach back out to the resident. Once you do that, you have completed all of the pieces that are on the form, and you are down to that red area that we talked about earlier down here. So this is the administrative section that should be blank when you get the form. But that is where you put your name. So I will put my name. And you click Save. You let it load for a second, and it will say thank you for submitting an in-home visit record. And there's a button to create another record that would bring you back to a cleared out and new entry portal that you could enter another form into. So I'm going to bounce back over to video, and what I want to show you is here at the administrative section down at the bottom, the very last piece you have to do is take a pen, take the paper, and we need to have your name as the person who entered the form online, and today's date, the date that you have input the record. So you want to write that on the form down at the bottom. And that way it also indicates that this form has been entered and someone else doesn't come and pick it up and enter it again and we get multiple entries. It also helps to make sure that if there are any issues with some data entry, that we can come back to you as the person who did the data entry to clarify any questions that we might have. So that is the online data entry system. I know that's a bit longer, and as you get used to it, you can go quicker and quicker. And you'll be able to do these, you can do them from home, you can do them from the office. Just make sure that whenever you are entering these, you do sign them at the bottom, and then you get them back to your local program manager so they can keep them on file. We do keep the records for a number of years, so if we ever lose our digital copies, which I hope not, we have our paper copies to show that they exist and that we could go back and back up all that data. So just one more time, I wanted to just refer back to the Sound the Alarm Service Acknowledgement Form data entry instructions. These are, again, provided on the Exchange and are also accessible on the SharePoint. This is the nationally provided guidance with the step-by-step. It walks through each of the steps we went through, so if you have any questions, it talks about the checked address, talks about choosing it, talks about getting that green check mark, and all the way down to the end about making sure you put your name on the form and the date, as well as entering your name at the very end of the administrative section on the online portal. And then filing the paper service acknowledgement form securely. We want to make sure that it is secure, so that's where we want to get these back to our disaster program managers for them to keep secure and available if needed, but secure and not just floating around. And then again, the frequently asked question is here for the Kentucky region. And if you have any questions that come up, please share them with me. Again, I would love to add them to this sheet so we can help out other volunteers and staff members that may be helping us with the data entry process. So So that's it for the data entry. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope this was helpful, and stay tuned. We're going to have more video series coming up with some how-tos with our deaf and hard of hearing alarms, as well as how to have a partner direct conversation and how to use some of our tools for planning, such as the home fire risk map and some census data. So thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing all of the new data entry team taking part in this process. Have a great one.